All right, you've waited long enough. I think it's time to see the Laravel code base. So I'm going to boot up a server. We're going to make a few changes just so you get the basic process of how you can load a view and see the output in the browser. Now, if you want to use the local server route, you could do this. And just don't forget to set the document root to the public directory. Now, if you do that and I switch over to Chrome, there's Laravel. Or if you went through the second lesson and learned about Homestead, what would that look like in this case? Well, let's see real quick. I will switch back to the terminal and SSH into our VM, and you'll see that Laravel Homestead includes this serve command. Notice we give it a domain name and the path to where the document root should be. So let's try that. We'll say serve, and how about laravel5.dev as the domain name? Now our path will be within the home Vagrant code directory. The folder name is learning Laravel 5, and we'll send that to the public folder. So we run that. That'll set everything up with Nginx. And now finally, don't forget, we have a custom domain, so we need to update our host file. Within a new tab, we'll do sudo vi etc/hosts. And now at the bottom, our IP will be the same, and the domain is laravel5.dev. And we're done. Let's see if it worked. If I switch over to Chrome and visit laravel5.dev, now we're up and running through Homestead. So whether you're using PHP's basic server or something like a VM with Homestead, it's up to you. If you're a little more seasoned, I would recommend Homestead, a lot of flexibility there. But if you're just trying to build your first website, learning your first framework, it's okay. Just stick with the basic PHP server for now. So let's switch over to the source code. Now, anytime, at least for me, when I see a brand new framework, the folder structure immediately gets a little overwhelming. All of these terms that I know nothing about. What the heck is a console or command or events or handlers and providers and services? Just too many things, right? It's okay. You can take these one step at a time. I can promise you they're not nearly as complicated as they might feel at first. But to begin, let's keep it as basic as we can. How did we load this little static welcome page? Well, anytime you visit a Laravel app, you want to go to the routes file, and you'll find that within app, HTTP. Think of this folder as encapsulating the HTTP specific entry point into our application. And this would include routes. So if we take a look, we have a few that come straight out of the box. But right now, we're just interested in this one. So it's possible you come from an old legacy PHP app where your folder structure dictated what the URL would look like. For example, if you wanted a blog section, well, you would create a blog folder, and within it, index.php. Now, you could go to example.com/blog and see the output, right? Well, as you can probably guess, that's a pretty rigid way to do that. Instead, we will explicitly declare every route for our application. And luckily, Laravel makes this as simple as possible. Let's read it together. We have a new route, and when the user performs a GET request is just a specific kind of request type, and it's the easiest one to understand. Just think of GET as when I hit this web page, when I visit this page. Well, what page? The root page, so the home page of your website. Next, what should we do? Well, I want to load a specific method, and this would be a method on our controller. So we're saying, look for a welcome controller, and I want you to call a method on it named index. Let's see if we can find it. Here's our controllers directory. Here is welcome controller. And if I scroll down, there's that index method. So this method is responsible for handling a call to the home page. Let's just try something simple. Return, hello, world. All right, come back, refresh, and there you go. Easy as pie. Why don't we do another one? How about if I go back to my routes file, and this is something you'll see me do a lot. Rather than always going back to the sidebar to find my file, well, pick a good editor that allows you to very quickly type in the name to visit the page. All right, how about the obligatory contact page? Well, we write it out together. Work along with me. We have a new route, And when we receive a GET request to contact, which would be like this, but you can leave off the /, then where do we want to go? What method should we direct the flow to, essentially? Well, let's stick with welcome controller for now, even though in real life I would create a separate controller. Maybe something like a generic pages controller for static pages in my website. Anyhow, we'll stick with this one for now, and we will call a method named contact. All right, we've set up a new route. We will go back to welcome controller. I'm going to add a new method here, public function contact, and we'll just hardcode contact me for now. All right, let's see if it works. Visit /contact, and there we go. So your very first page. Congratulations. Really, notice it's not that hard. You just need to understand the basic flow. And I promise, you're really going to love Laravel once you learn about all this stuff. Now, in these two cases, we're just returning strings. Behind the scenes, Laravel will know to whip up the appropriate response. However, in real life, we don't return strings. It's possible that you might return something like JSON if you're building an API, but for a typical web application, you're probably going to load some HTML. And that's what a view is. Think of a view in Laravel as sort of a dummy template. It's not smart. You just give it some data and it presents it to the user. Now, all of your views will be stored within a resources views directory. So notice that this will assume that base directory. We don't actually have to type resources views welcome. And also notice we don't need to worry about the extension either. Welcome.blade.php. None of this stuff is necessary. Instead, just type the name, welcome. Or if it's within a subdirectory, and this is pretty common, you're going to have a bunch of views for your application, so you will want to organize them correctly. If you have, for example, a forum, then you will have views/forum/ the name of the view. In those cases, you can just say forum/ and then the name. Or if you want, you can make it more seemingly object-oriented by using a period in place of the /. So this would look within resources, views, a forum directory, and then a name.php or name.blade.php file. But in our case, we'll stick with welcome here. And now we're going to change this one up. Return view, and maybe I want a pages folder and specifically a view called contact. All right, let's set that up. Right here, new file, within pages, contact.blade.php. Now Blade, that may be new to you. That is Laravel's templating engine. You're going to love it. But we'll take a look at that down the line. Okay, so to begin, I'm just going to put a big block of HTML here, though later I will show you how to clean this up using things like master pages. And I'm just going to say, contact me. All right, that's all we have to do. So let's review the flow one more time and then view this in the browser. We define a route so that when the user makes a GET request to example.com/contact, we want to direct them to our controller, which sort of orchestrates the world. It receives a request, like I want to view the contact page, and it returns the response. Here's your page. Anyhow, on that class, we are referencing a contact method. So now, if we switch over there, in our contact method, all we are doing is loading a pages/contact view. And then, of course, the view is dummy generic HTML. All right, let's see it in the browser. I will come back and refresh, and there we go. We've loaded our view. All right, so that's been your first introduction, a very gentle introduction to basic routing and what a controller looks like, or how we load a view. As you can imagine, in future lessons, we'll take this further and further. I hope you're having fun.